Okay, so let's talk about glazing here. So here is my test example piece. I already have some stuff on it because I want to show you a technique with this. This is just a test clay piece that curves up a little bit that I'll be using to kind of just review some of these things with you. Okay, so the very first thing, remember, so I'm using bottle number 9. And when I open bottle number 9 up, it kind of looks kind of chalky, dull, dusty. Remember, when we use glazes, they have to be fired again and they go through a chemical change to make them look glossy. So let's just quickly look at this comparison here of test tile number 9. Once we fire it again, this is what it will look like. And right now it looks kind of the same color, but you can see that this is kind of dull and this dull and chalky, and that number 9 test tile here is really glossy. Okay, so for mine, I'm gonna, like I said, number 9 and number 4. I would like you to pick at least 2 colors, if not more, for this, okay? But when we are doing this, I'm gonna show you a couple of different things. When we're doing with these with the glazes, we are going to glaze directly from the bottle. Please do not pour these into any other containers. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to dip directly in. And you need to make sure that you have 4 coats of every color that you are using. Okay, so when you put on that first coat of that color, it is going to be very, very thin. Okay, it's almost going to feel like you're not even really applying much on there. Okay, but when you do this, make sure to get inside of all of the texture, all of the grooves, okay? So you can see that this looks really thin, but as we build up on the layers, it will get a little bit thicker, but we got to let them dry in between, okay? So if I were to just go right now, this does dry really fast, but it's not, this first layer isn't dry yet. So I can't just take my paintbrush and keep going over and over and over it, okay? I need to wait for it to dry. Okay, so while I'm waiting for this to dry, use a different color. So if you're just using one paintbrush, okay, you can rinse it out if you want to, but before we dip it into another container, just wipe it, okay? So here I have my other color, and I kind of want these to kind of blend together. So to do that, I'm gonna go right next and kind of overlap that second color a little bit. Okay, so once again, I got my first coats in there, very thin, all right? But you're just gonna keep building these up to 4 layers, okay? When you are glazing your piece, so what you can do is you glaze everything. You can even glaze the bottom, okay? But do not glaze anything that sits on the table or the surface. So like for this one, these little feet, do not glaze the bottom of them, okay? If any of your other piece of the back of it touches the table, do not glaze it. If not, you can do it anywhere. You can put glaze anywhere that's not sitting on the surface. So you just gotta, if you're not sure, just ask me, okay? So like I said, this piece is a little bit different. All right, so now I'm going to go in and I'm going to take that purple again, and you're gonna see this time when I do it, it's going to, after you get your first coat on there, it's going to have much better coverage, okay? So after even doing that second coat, it will look pretty good, okay? Then I can quickly switch to my blue color, and I would really, if you're using multiple colors, unless you want it to be for like a design, drawing on top of, you'll really just want to blend together. Okay, so you will continue to do that until you have 4 coats. So here's quickly an example of why it's important to have at least 4 coats. This is going to be a little bit difficult to see on the video here, but I had this in class. You can see that if you only have 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 coats, how you get more coverage of the color. Okay, so that's why it's so important to have multiple coats of glaze on there, and that's why you're aiming for 4. Okay, so in this piece that I already have glazed black, I did this because I wanted to really, really play up the texture of it, and to do that, I'm actually gonna wipe this away using a water and wet sponge. And then I'm going to glaze over top of it, and I'll show you some examples in a slideshow as far as exactly how that will work. So, what I'm gonna do if you choose to do that, you'll just wanna get a sponge and a little dish of water, okay? We could even use a rag, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start wiping it away. And before you do this, you will want to have at least 2 coats of a glaze on top of it instead of 4, because we're going to be glazing over top of this one. But I really want, and I just really like the way that this looks, because it just really brings out the patterns and the details in the pieces. Okay, so as you do this too, take a paper towel and wipe around the dry areas, and you'll just keep doing this until it's all cleared off how you want it to be. Okay, so once you have it all wiped away, so I might clean that up a little bit more, but you can see that compared to how it was before, we can really see that texture. So now, for mine, I'm gonna do kind of a rainbow design, colors over top of it. What you need to make sure is, if you choose to do this technique, you just need to make sure that you have a contrasting color underneath of it. So for instance, if I wanna do like this blue color over top of it, I need to do a color that is darker than it. So for instance, doing a yellow underneath of it probably isn't going to be a good idea. But using black will really, really work well for this type of process. So for instance, I'm gonna start with the blue over here on this side. It's gonna almost look like it's doing nothing at first to go over that black. And it's gonna feel like you're just covering over the black, but during the firing process, that black will show through the back. So you will continue by doing your 3 to 4 coats on top of this, okay? So those are a couple of options for you. I'll give you some other ideas. And if you have any questions, let me know.